Hello students, Namaste. How are you all? Hope all of you are well. Today we are going to discuss class 6 science chapter number 5 separation of substances. In the previous video I had explained you what is separation of substances and I had little bit described about the hand picking. And I have read some theories also of NCERT about the hand picking. Hand picking is a method in which some of the small particles which are similar to the grains, as when the grains are being harvested, at that time some of the small stones or soil or mud particles or husk of the grains are mixed. To separate this we use our hand and we can separate this unwanted material from the grains by hand picking. So that method was hand picking. Today we will discuss about the threshing, winnowing and sieving. These all the methods, especially for the grains like wheat, like paddy and rice, pulses and many more grains. Especially these all the methods are used for the grains, that how we can get a pure amount of grains, and with the help of that pure amount of grains we will get good amount of food, right? So today let's discuss about the hand picking, threshing, winnowing and sieving method. So in our NCERT textbook, yesterday I had described you also about the hand picking method. It is written very clearly that you have to just bring a packet of wheat or packet of rice, and after then you have to put on a paper. You have to just see that anywhere stone is there or not. After getting the stones you have to pick by the hand, and that method was hand picking method. Today let's start by the threshing. In the NCERT textbook it's written very clearly about the threshing. You must have seen bundles of wheat or paddy stalks lying in the field after harvesting the crop. Definitely, as the field is harvested or crop is harvested from the field, stalks are dried in the sun before the grain is separated from it. Each and every farmer has some expectation that how I will get good amount of grain. So similarly, after harvesting they leave the stalks for some of the days. The stalks are dried, and especially the stalks are dried in the sun, and before the grain is separated from them, each stalk has many grains seed attached to it. Imagine the number of grain seed in 100 of bundles of stalk lying in the field. How does the farmer separate these grain seeds from the bundle of stalk? Yeah, definitely what happens you will see, as right now only the wheat has been harvested from the field. So what do farmer do? Farmer first of all cut this wheat husk or wheat plant. After cutting they leave for 1 or 2 days in the sun, so that a whole stalk should be dried, and after them directly they will not eat the husk containing that wheat. So what do? They take this bundle of stalks lying from the field, and then they separate these grains from the bundle of stalks. One more, pluck mangoes or guavas from the trees, but grain seeds are much smaller than mangoes or guava. Definitely, you will see directly cutting or harvesting is not a method by which you can separate. You can separate the guava or mango from the bucket. I will give you thousands of guava and thousands of mangoes in big bucket, and I will tell you to separate. So you will separate because their shape and size is large, and you can pick it very easily with your hand. But if I talk about the grains, right, then it's not possible to pick up by the hand. So what do? How does one separate grain seeds from their stalks? The process that is used to separate grain from the stalks is called threshing. If anybody will ask you what is threshing, threshing is a process by which the grains are separated from the stalks. Threshing is a process by which grains are separated from the stalks. Remember. So the threshing, the process, the stalks are beaten to free the grain seeds. Sometimes the threshing is done with the help of bullocks. Machines are also used to thresh large quantities of grain. I have seen, especially in my village, what happens when some of the farmer after the harvesting, especially I am talking about the wheat and paddy. So what happens? They harvest the crop. They take the bundle of that wheat stalks and they come at our house. After then they spread it, or they just take a big you can say very big wooden particle. On that they beat that husk or beat that stalks with the grain. So grain goes one side and the husk is being separated, or stalks are being separated and grains are being separated. Another method was what? They spread on the ground. After then they put one big bamboo or any wooden very big you can say just like a pillar there, put that wooden things, and after then they tied all the bullocks with that wooden particle, and after that all the bullocks go round and round and round. So after, as the bullock moves, so these grains are falling down, and after then they collect all these stalks, they separate the stalks one side and they separate the grains one side. So by this method was also, but nowadays there is machines are available, right? So these were the older methods. But if I talk about the modern methods, modern method, thresher machine is there. So directly these farmers go to the thresher's man and they put all these stalks into the thresher. So wheat and all the husk of that stalks are being separated. So by this method, nowadays the threshing is done. Threshing is done with the help of bullocks, machine, and also use to thresh large quantity of grain. So as we have seen about the hand picking and threshing, do you have any question regarding this hand picking and threshing? If you are still having any question related this hand picking and threshing, then you can just drop your doubt into the comment box section. Now we are moving towards winnowing. What do you understand by this word winnowing? Especially this wing was the word wind, right? You know, some of the after from the field, as the crops have been harvested, the farmers take these crop stalks at their home. But have you ever thought about the pulses? Pulses like you can say moon or any other pulses. So the small particles of these pulses, how do these pulses are being separated? So if we get a knowledge about this pulses separation, so this is especially winnowing. Make a mixture of dry sand with the sawdust or powdered dry leaves. Keep this mixture on a plate or a newspaper. Look at this mixture carefully. Can the two different components be made out easily? Are the sizes of the particles of the two components similar? Would it be possible to separate the components by hand picking? Now, take your mixture to an open ground and stand on a raised platform. Put the mixture in a plate or a sheet of paper. Hold the plate or the sheet of paper containing the mixture at your shoulder height. Tilt it slightly so that the mixture slides out slowly. What happens? Do both the components, sand and sawdust, or powdered leaves, fall at the same place? Is there a component that blows away? Did the wind manage to separate the two components? The method of separating components of a mixture is called winnowing. Especially winnowing is a method by which the heavy particles and the light particles grains are being separated. Winnowing is a method by which light and heavy particles grains can be separated. Winnowing is used to separate heavier and lighter components of a mixture by wind or by blowing air. This method is commonly used by the farmers to separate lighter husk particles from the heavier seed or grains. The husk particles are carried away by the wind. The seeds of grains get separated and form a heap near the platform for winnowing. The separated husk is used for many purposes such as fodder for cattle. Now what I want to see, just suppose that any of the farmer which specially had grown pulses in their field, after growing, okay, just suppose one example I am giving you, as it is given in your NCERT textbook also. Have you ever seen the wooden particle dust, wood sawdust? Have you seen? Very mixture. Take that wood sawdust and after that take one side sand. Mix both of this. And now I will tell you to separate this wood dust and sand. Will you be able to separate by hand picking method? Will you be able to separate this by threshing method? Not possible. How you will separate this sand particles and this wooden sawdust? Is it possible? No. So what do? We go near where there is a heighted area, and near that heighted area we carry something near at the height of our shoulder. We take either a sheet of paper or any other utensils or vessels, and from the height of shoulder we just slowly. As we do this type of work slowly, what happens? The heavier particles fall near our leg and the lighter particles move ahead, right? So by this method we can separate the lighter particles which are very small, the heavier particles which are very small, and the mix of these particles, as both the particles are mixed. What I am saying to you, especially about the pulse and their husk of the pulse or the stalks of the pulse are very lighter in particle, but both the sides are same. Means pulse grains pulse size also, and if we talk about the husk of that pulse, their size are also same. So now how we will separate? We will separate by this winnowing method. So if you want to write the define of winnowing, then you can write winnowing is a method of separating component of lighter and heavier components of a mixture. Winnowing is a process of separating components of a mixture of heavier and lighter components. So all of you have written about this winnowing. Do you have any doubt related this hand picking, threshing or winnowing? Now we are moving towards our next topic, that is sieving. Have you heard this word earlier about the sieving? Have you understood about this hand picking, threshing and winnowing? Any doubt related to these three topics? If you are having doubt, then please drop your doubt into the comment box section. So I will explain in the next videos that this topic doubt is still not cleared or any type of doubt is there. I have heard 2-3 times your video and still I am not able to understand about hand picking, threshing or winnowing. So I will explain in the next video. Now we are moving towards the sieving. Sometimes we may wish to prepare a dish with flour. We need to improve impurities and bran that may be present in it. What do? We use a sieve and pour the flour into it. Sieving allows the fine flour particles to pass through the holes of the sieve while the bigger impurities remain on the sieve. In a flour mill, impurities like husk and stones are removed from the wheat before grinding it. Usually a bag full of wheat is poured on a slanting sieve. This sieving removes the particles of the stones, stalk and husk that may still remain with the wheat after the threshing and winnowing. We may also notice similar sieving being used at construction sites to separate the pebbles and stones and sand. Bring a sieve and a small quantity of flour from home to the class. Sieve the flour to separate any impurities in it. Now make a fine powder of chalk pieces and mix it with the flour. Can we separate the flour and powdered chalk by sieving? Sieving is used only when the components or mixture have different sizes. Now we are talking about, just suppose, sieve. Sieve means you know, chalan. Your mama especially, whenever she take a wheat flour, so in the wheat flour, small husk are there. So what happens many times, as the wheat grains are grown in the field, after the wheat grains grow, we do harvesting. After harvesting, we do threshing. After threshing, if still the lighter and heavier particles we want to separate, we do by winnowing. And then these wheat grains are specially sent to the mills and then they become powder. But in the powder, you will still see some of the wheat means cover particles are there, means the husk is still remaining in the wheat. So now to separate this wheat flour from the husk, because both of them are of different size, right? You will see the wheat flour and inside that wheat flour small brown colored particles are there, that are the husk. So how to separate? This method can be done by the sieving. Sieving is a method by which two different tiny particle shape and size can be separated. You may have seen that chalan at your home. So what we do in that chalan, that is called sieve. Especially at the construction site also, you will see in the sand so many pebbles are mixed. So what do these laborers do? Labor collect this sand and put on the sieve, and after then pebbles and sands are being separated. Similarly, as our mothers do in kitchen when she want to duff the wheat flour. So before duffing the wheat flour, what she do? She collects the wheat flour and after then she do sieving process and then she make a duff of that. Got it? So this was our topic: hand picking, threshing, winnowing and sieving. If you are still having doubt related with sieving, then you can just inform to me, as I will definitely solve your all the doubts related to this thing. Sieving means one method, just remember, it is also a process of removing two components of different sizes. Two components of components means that wheat flour or any other mixed powder. Any mixed powder having different shape and size, so we can separate by the method of sieving, winnowing, threshing and hand picking. As we have seen all these four methods, I hope all of you have understand about this video. If you are still having any doubt related to either the hand picking or the threshing or winnowing or sieving, then please drop your doubt into the comment box section. And if you have understand, then please like and subscribe. Share this video with your friends. Either they are studying in the same school or different school. You can please share this video so they can be also benefited. That's all for today. Thank you. Thank you very much.